Welcome, everybody. My name is Aaron Nelson. I'm the president of the Chamber for Greater Chapel Hill, Carrboro. And one of the things we've been hearing a lot about from small businesses is phishing and scams and spam email and real concerns about what that's going to mean for their organization if they click on the wrong thing, or folks really attempting to steal information from them or steal their money. And so we wanted to bring experts into the conversation. And so we're very excited to have with us Kim Green and Mauricio Tavares. Wonderful to have you all with us. And they are with Privacy Test Driver, real unique organization. They work with businesses locally and they work with them across the country, actually internationally. And we're glad that they are here with us in Chapel Hill to have this conversation. Rather than a PowerPoint, we're going to have a conversation about some real examples. And I'm going to ask them some questions, and they're going to tell us some of the stories that they've seen from some of their clients and give us some good advice. Kim, Mauricio, welcome. As we were getting started, we were talking about the email that you get in the office, and it is a request for payment. Is that one of the more frequent ones that is going on?
It's still very common. It was very more popular a few years ago, but it's coming back again in popularity.
Yes.
Especially this time of the year.
Before I dive into the questions, tell us a little bit about your company. Can you introduce yourselves and your company to us?
Sure.
At Privacy Test Driver, we teach people and businesses to protect their valuable information. You choose who you're going to share with or not share and protect yourself from so that you are in control of your life and your business.
And do you do it for big companies and small ones? Is everybody a potential client for you?
Yes. Everyone needs to be deliberately choosing what they're doing and who they're working with. And we'd like to give everyone, big or small, agency in their life.
Well, I appreciate that and really appreciate you all making the time today. It seems like it used to be easier. The English in the email was terrible, and it was from someone claiming to be a Nigerian prince. And we all learned not to engage with that email. But it is getting more and more sophisticated. You've brought some examples with you. But let's talk about the invitation to pay an invoice. So I'm going to share an email. Should I do that? Should we start there?
Sure.
And will you tell us a little bit about
Start the story when you approach it.
this sort of experience that businesses are having? I'm going to share that for you. Well, actually set it up for us. Tell us what businesses are experiencing, and then I'll pull forward the specific email.
Businesses are more and more online with shopping globally for your supplies and parts, everything just in time storage and delivery. You may have people that have heard of your business on your website and are in a completely different area and would like to be your clients. So everything is more and more online, and particularly with COVID, that has been really huge, a big leap for everyone. But a lot of people haven't been taught how to do it safely. So that's why we're here. And one of the main ways that you live your life online is either on web pages or through your email. So as a business, it's your job to go read emails and answer emails. And so what happens if, suppose you get this email?
Right. So
Okay.
This is how I get lots of invoices. So this one has arrived, comes to me. What am I supposed to do to know whether this one's a good one or not a good one?
Okay. First of all, you receive that email. The first thing I would do is check the return address. Then because if you look at the return address, it's coming from something at gmail.com. And it's a very long, strange address where they claim to be from support team. So that is kind of suspicious. The second part is, could you scroll down? You see a thing like bill to Microsoft user 100. That doesn't sound like me. Usually a bill would have the name of your company, your name, or something like that, because the bill is to you. Then, Windows Defender Have you bought it? Do you know what it is? Have somebody in your company bought it? You can probably ask around and see, like, did anybody buy this? And attribute to us. So those, if you scroll, I think that's pretty much it.
There's also
one thing,
phone numbers. It seems like before, one of the ways that we would check is we would call them, and we would call and say, hey, I just got this email. Is it really from you? But this phone number is them. So if I call this number, I'm calling them, and they're going to say, yes, this is from them.
Well, that phone number, they will answer it and claim to be them. One of the ways that you could check it is go look, do you have a purchase receipt from them when you bought this software? If you believe you bought Windows Defender, go back and get your purchase receipt. Use that number. If you know that you bought it, but you didn't have a receipt, then you can go look online and say, okay, what is the correct number for this company? In the same way that if I got something from the IRS, it's not going to be on a phone call. They're going to send me registered mail so that they know that I got that letter. So they have a helpline. I can look up the IRS and say, yes, it came from the IRS. I'm not just going to go ahead and call a mail that said, IRS pay $900, click here. In the same way, you would not just click and pay on an invoice. You worked hard for your money and make sure it goes to the people that you owe it to.
These are coming, though, pretty frequently. You just described a lengthy process for someone to verify every single one of these. Is it just the case there is no easy button that you, before you pay a bill or before you click and send it, you really need to go do some hunting, and that's just going to take time, and that's just what it's going to take?
Well, as I said, that if you start by the email address, that I will tell you a lot of hints, and from there you can decide, well, maybe I should put this on hold and look at it later, or maybe this is legit. And if it has the name of the company there, you can immediately contact the company and say, what's up? On that example you had, the address for the company was incomplete. So that tells you just drop it and move on.
Just drop and move on. You all brought with you one other example. Let me share it. And then I've got some questions for you about. So what is this that you shared?
This one, if you look on the blue field there to the left of the picture, it's saying that, that your bank card reported, that it's over its limit. That's fine. Question number one, do you have an American Express?
And so then they give you, and it's very sophisticated, it's well designed. And this is designed to do what? What are they trying to get from me?
They want you to log into the website with, as I said, with your login credentials so they can record it. And then they can use it by themselves.
As we were talking, it's possible that you won't know this happened, right? I could click here, I type my credentials. They really do then send me to American Express. I really then do look at my account. But they, as the intermediary, captured all my stuff.
Yes. There's two ways that they like to do it. One is they'll just pass it right on through so that you do reach the bank or MX or wherever it is you'd like to go to, and you are none the wiser. The other way they'll do it is you'll reach an error page and you'll go, oh, oops, web page is down. I'll come back in 5 minutes.
And in both instances, they have captured your information.
In both instances, they now have your login information.
So for both of these examples, calling the real bank or calling the real Microsoft and say, is this you? And you do that independently. You'll go look it up online and you do it independently. The other one is that you do go to Amex to check it out, but not using their link. We're not going to use their link in order to do it.
There is no easy button for this. Computers aren't actually any smarter. They're just faster. So if you remember the old-fashioned way of doing business, you would have a paper receipt. You would look up the paper receipt. You would call the paper receipt. All computers are doing is making it faster and easier for you to do that. So if you believe it's a partner that you've worked with before, you know them, you trust them, you recognize them, it's your email, run with it. It's your business, you know them, and you know it's valid. When it's something new and you're not sure, that's when you need to slow down and look, are there these signs and symptoms that that's a sick email, a phishing email, and not an accurate, valid email?
I'll share an example that happened with us recently at the chamber. So employee writes to our CFO and says, hey, I've changed my bank account. Can I please, we change my direct deposit instructions to send it to my new bank account? Right, this is not computer generated. There seemed to be a real person typing, and the English is good and the syntax is proper. And my CFO writes the person back and says, actually, it's Katie Lewis. Hey, Katie, who's our VP for Government Affairs. You, oh, sure, fine, I can do that. Send me a copy of a canceled check. And then the person on the other line creates and sends back a canceled check. So here's the interaction. Katie Lewis writes Brian Rowe on our business, and she says, even with good language, here you go. I've attached the voided check. Want you to know it's for my entire net pay. That's a little weird language. Kindly let me know once it's been updated. All that language. And they made a fake Katie Lewis check with a routing number that would move her money. So our CFO did this, went in, made the change. And on payday, Katie Lewis says, hey, I didn't get paid. And CFO says, what do you mean you didn't get paid? I paid you. And she says, I don't have it. And he says, well, check your new bank. And she says, what are you talking about? What happened for us, our payroll company caught it and didn't send the money through. But this is sophisticated. That would have been difficult to detect.
Yours and mine?
Well, probably what you would like to do then is after you talk to them on the phone and say, okay, and you receive the email, you call their known number and say, oh, I just received your email about this. Is that what you want to do and when you want to do that? But you're calling the number you have from them on record, not the number that called you.
And this is classic. One of the things that happens is you're people and they're people. And they play on this. You want to be helpful. You want to do your job. You want to let them do their job. So what they're doing is creating a sense of urgency where you don't slow down. You don't think about it. Because as I mentioned, computers let it happen faster. If they can keep it at that faster pace, they can take advantage of you. Another way that you can tell is, although the diction is very good, the word choice kindly is not usually used as commonly here in the US as in other areas of the world.
I think lesson, if it doesn't feel quite right, we're going to have to use telephones and talk to each other. When someone makes a financial request, I think the advice is you call and double check it with them.
Yeah. The more important it is, the more you need to take care of it.
Y'all, I want to share another example, and that happened to us. The reason I'm sharing examples that happened to us, because we're a small chamber of commerce with 8 staff people, and if somebody's targeting us, we think that they're also after other small businesses. So our CFO gets an email from an employee that says, I've changed my banks. Will you please update my direct deposit information? Reasonable request. The syntax and the English are good. He writes back, happy to do so. Please send me a copy of a canceled check. Aha, I will catch you if you are out there, not a real person. How would you have Katie's canceled check? And then Katie, the fake Katie, sends an email back with the canceled check. And the email came to us, and it looks like this. So the original request, Katie Lewis says to Brian Rowe, I have a new bank for direct deposit. What do I need to do? She even asked, this is really right. Will the change be effective for this coming pay period? That is well written. He writes back, happy, send me this. She does. I've attached the voided check. Kindly let me know once this has been updated. And actually kindly is language that Katie would use. That actually made us worry that they were following Katie. And he does it. He makes this change. He uses this check. He makes the change. And it's only because our payroll company thought it wasn't right. But on payday, Katie didn't get paid. And we didn't realize that this had happened until Katie doesn't get paid. And she asks Brian what happened. And Brian says, I paid you to the new account. And she says, what are you talking about? So we had a little panic moment in our office. When we go back, we notice that Katie Lewis here, the email is from my officeware at iCloud.com. That's not Katie Lewis normally. And he should have seen that when he replied. I think they're pretty clever. They don't put Katie's name. Sometimes we know it's wrong because they put Katie in her middle name and her last name, and Katie never signs anything that way. This is very cleverly done. Do you have advice on how we might have avoided this problem?
I think the general advice is always, when in doubt, reach out to the person that send you that check or is making the request. Call them with a number that you know it's a good number. With that said, the check, if it says Sutton Bank, has no address for the bank. So it's a mystery bank. Every check, if the bank says something, you want to put an address, but you could have faked that too. The safest thing is always, when in doubt, call the person, reach out to them.
I think that seems to be a theme here. There is no easy button. We're just going to have to pay better attention and be doubtful, suspicious.
Not necessarily doubtful.
No, go ahead.
Computers just make it faster. They don't make it safer. So if someone came into your office and said, I want to go ahead and do this transaction, you should treat an online transaction with that same care. If it's important that you pay attention to that in person, then you pay attention to that more online. Just because it's over faster doesn't mean you should think about it any less. So not that you have to have a sense of suspicion, but if Katie came in, you would pay attention to certain things on Katie. And if it wasn't Katie, if it was Katie's brother saying, hi, Katie's out with the flu, she asked me to do this, you would go ahead and contact Katie.
That is a great takeaway. Right. Some other person looking a little bit like Katie, but not entirely like Katie, walked in the door and asked me to make this change. I wouldn't have made it. And we need to learn to recognize people online a little bit better. In our office, we've been debating we have this rule, right? Don't click on a link from a company you don't know. Like, that's the mantra. And that's what we were telling everybody. And we all agree. And then the other day, I said, well, does anybody unsubscribe from emails? And they said, yes. Well, we unsubscribe all the time, right? Donald Trump sending me an email, constantly getting all of this. I don't want to receive this thing from overseas. Click unsubscribe. And we're like, wait, that is clicking on a link. We all agreed we weren't going to click on links. And we're clicking on links. So can you give advice about what to do there? How can we manage our inboxes better if we're not supposed to be clicking and unsubscribing?
This is a bit more complex because there's two groups of emails you can receive. One that supposedly or actually comes from a real company, and the other ones that are just like coming from something you never heard of. The link you have on the bottom, when you click on it, tells them that you exist so they can spam you some more. So if it is a known company, you can contact them. Once again, it's a recurring theme. Contact them and say, I received this. I want you to unsubscribe. And if they say, oh, go to this something link, no, I want you to unsubscribe right now. Make it happen. If it is a company you do not know, never heard of, it's a completely, absolutely, certainly fake company. Like, as you put your example, like, some politician you never heard of or you heard of, is trying to, annoy you, you would have to rely on spam filtering or some other technology like that.
Is there a way to block it so it never arrives rather than to spam it so that it just fills my giant junk box, which I am always having to read because some things good end up there?
The problem is that, remember, as Kim said, that computers make things faster. Computers don't know really what you do. You can only tell them so much. So it's safer to avoid the chance of you deleting something you regret, to put it on your spam folder, because the spam folder is designed that after 30 days, if you don't touch it, it goes away.
That is helpful. I see sometimes now that you can unsubscribe via email versus do a web. And when you click that, it creates an email and you send them an email that says, please unsubscribe me. I thought I was being clever and I was doing those. Now I realized likely I was sending them my full signature file, my email address, everything about me is in that. Please unsubscribe me that I sent them. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't have done that. I really,
It happens, you know, it is as a friend of mine said before, look at this not as a problem, but as a trainable moment.
well, I will take that trainable moment. Again, I keep looking for the easy button and y'all are telling me it doesn't exist. What are some of the other things that you're seeing out there that you want to urge caution or advice that you have for small businesses about what to avoid, some key behaviors that might just keep them a little bit safer?
Kim, do you have one?
So top few things that we might do. You said, don't click on the link. Got that.
Right.
Double check by telephone if they're asking you to pay a bill.
Yes. Also, sometimes when you see a link on that looks right, say, let's use the American Express example. It says American Express, before you click on it, copy it and paste, not on like Word, but something a bit more primitive, like, you know, a command line prompt.
Notepad.
Yes, Notepad. Because one trick they use, they replace a character with a similar character from another language. For instance, you know, the A, and then there's in Russian, there's a character called Ya, that if you put it there, it might look similar. And there's some other characters in Russian that, you know, one that looks like an M that has nothing to do with an M. But when you put it there, at first glance, it goes, okay, it's M. I'm going to cut and paste and off I go.
Do you recommend that folks, like we have our emails available on our website. If you want to contact me, it's there. We sometimes debate removing that, and having the contact, you know, you click here and it opens a chat box to send me an email. I really can't stand those when I'm trying to communicate with another organization, but is that a safety measure folks should consider?
It's perfectly valid to have an email as long as the person who's coding the page makes sure that it's an email. One of the other ways that people will go ahead and have a command that they'll put in instead of a name. So if you just blindly accept what they're typing in, you are now letting them run a command on your computer.
Okay, if we have done the bad deed and we clicked on the wrong thing and we're now in a little bit of a panic, rather than run around the office and unplug all the computers, what do we do next?
Glad you asked. So every day you get email. So I get this email. We've gone over some ways that you can recognize it might be a not so safe email, but oops, I clicked it anyway. And then I recognize it might not be good or not. I might not find out for a while. You'll know that you're compromised by your computer's acting a little off. It's a little slow. It may be doing things that you didn't plan on it doing. It may send messages to people that you didn't plan on sending it to. You may get a ransomware notice saying, pay the ransomware.
Which you shouldn't.
Which you shouldn't. It may deactivate your antivirus or your firewall. So if you find out that you did click the link and it did something to your computer, stop using it. Don't make the problem worse. If somebody in your house gets sick, you're not going to let them cough and sneeze on everybody. You're going to say, okay, go sit on the couch. I'll bring you your soup and your tea. So don't let that computer infect anybody else.
So I would shut down my computer. We're in a network. So if I'm not in a network and I close mine out, but then what? I find another device. I go log in, change passwords, you're like auto logged in, kick everything out of the logins, call the police, like I'm panicking. Do you have advice of what I should be doing next?
If it's a virus, there are some published ways to go ahead and deal with most common viruses out there. Just reactivate your antivirus, do what the instructions are to remove the virus, and most of the time you're good to go. The hard part is if you get ransomware. If you get ransomware, do not trust that hard drive again. You are not going to be sure that you get all of it out. So if you have that happen to you, you should contact law enforcement so that they're aware it happened again. There may be some way that they can find out who did it and stop them from doing it to somebody else. If you do have insurance, then you do need to contact your insurance. If you have backups, then you can purchase a new hard drive and restore your backups onto the new hard drive, so you're not using the old one at all.
So I want to stop you there. The story that we have from a organization that we know, like, and respect, 20 people in the organization. So whoever had been infecting in their stuff sat for a while and watched. Well, what that means is because they do backups every week, all the bad stuff were in all the backups. So restoring from backup included all the stuff. The backups, I just even thought about that if you are backing up, you were backing up the bad stuff too. They had their cyber insurance. They made the telephone call. The cyber insurance company sent out a person, and that person said, we're going to find out who did it, and then confiscated every computer, every handheld device, phone, every smart TV, everything. And they were sitting there with no devices and no plan and no way to communicate with their customers, no ways. I want folks to think ahead. If you couldn't use your devices, and their insurance company kept them for 7 months. Mm-hmm. For 7 months, they had to run on some put back together system, trying to keep access. That sounds like a nightmare to me.
I think the important thing here is plan ahead. You know, to give an example, if you're a small business, let's say a bakery, and the computer that you use to do your orders get hacked, you should be able to still run your business, because you have the transactions. You probably have, hopefully, somewhere else the contact for your suppliers, because you have receipts, you can contact them. So you need to have not only a backup as in drive, but a backup as in concept, something that doesn't rely on what you had before. For this other organization, maybe if they had a copy of their contacts, they need somewhere else as a text document. Text files cannot be hacked, period. Then they can have another way to send emails and then reach out to them, say, hey, we have this problem, and then use some alternative ways. But the most important thing here is you might lose data that you have on your computers. So the question is, what can you do to protect that? That takes a bit more planning, but it's doable.
Is it true that if we're not using, if our QuickBooks is online rather than on our server, and if our Microsoft is office.com and not on our server, that improves our safety?
It transfers the risk, because now what you have to worry about only or primarily is them taking your account, and then they can use something within Microsoft Office, not your entire computer. If they hack into your Microsoft Office or your QuickBooks, they can copy the information. They can try to send bills to other people or send them checks, but they cannot, from QuickBooks send you emails. So yes, it helps.
Hard drives.
Go ahead.
Okay, hard drives are cheaper now. You can go ahead and get one for a backup that you use regularly. As you've seen, if people are playing the long game, they get inside your backup cycle. So having one that you sit on a shelf for 6 months or a year will be helpful. If you have your contacts in your email, then it's tied to your account, not your computer. If you do your accounting, then it's tied to your account, not your computer. So there's a lot of ways that you can continue. And with COVID, people have been noticing more and more the whole business continuity. How can you keep running if anything happens? If it's hurricane season, if people call out sick for COVID, if you get hit for ransomware, there's lots of things that can happen. Did you plan ahead on what you're going to do if something happens? Back to if it's valuable to you, give it that, act like it, give it that due respect. Take a moment to spend some time to treat it with that value.
That's a great takeaway for me. We're getting near the end of our time. Are there, so companies, you do this all day, every day, and it's almost like an EMT or emergency. Like you are responding to emergencies all the time, and we only get in a car accident once. What do companies like you, how can you help small businesses if they wanted to engage with you? How might you help them?
Yeah.
Okay. We thought it would be fun, since it's one of the most common ways, is we will professionally insult your email. If you will take your fish and send us your fish, we will fillet and roast your fish. So you can send it to phishing@privacytestdriver.com.
Tell me again how that works. So someone has sent me an email I think is phishing, and I'm going to send that fish to you. I forward it to the phishing, PHISHING @privacytestdriver.com, and you guys are going to tell me whether it was or wasn't phishing?
Yes.
Oh, we'll have a lot more fun than that. We will go ahead and draw arrows and circles and say, this is the misphrasing here, and properly insult it.
That's better. It's a really nice offer, folks. You get the email, forward it on to these people to take a look. But outside of solving that little problem, folks can hire you also to do training for their staff.
Yes.
They can hire you to do an analysis of their operating procedures.
Yep.
And make recommendations. What other things might you do to help out?
We can help you walk through and looking at what do you consider valuable. If you do it all day, every day, sometimes it becomes automatic. You take it for granted. This will help you take a new look at what your business is and does, and what do you consider now, because it may have changed from when you started it. Right now, what does your business do and what do you consider important? Then we can recommend which tools you want to use to protect it for security, because it all depends on what you think is important and how you use it. So there's that journey of self-exploration. Teach you some of these tips and tricks for staying safe online and being privacy aware in how you do it. If there's anything that comes out in the news and current events, we can go ahead and make sure that you're aware of what that means to you as a business. And with the new privacy legislation coming out, what are you on the hook for? You are a business entity. You have responsibilities. What are you on the hook for? What does it mean to you? In terms
of our customer data, employee data, if something bad were to happen, what are our responsibilities?
Yes.
I want to repeat back for me what the takeaway, and we conclude here. Look for something being not quite right and inconsistent, right? That was that first example, that there is a mismatch between the name and the email address. They are talking to us in a way that doesn't seem quite right. Don't use the phone number they give us to say that that's American Express. Go find American Express's phone number, call them and ask. It seems also that everything is just like one level up of effort. We're going to actually talk to people as humans, to a staff member we think might have communicated with us, to our payroll company, to a vendor. Are you really wanting me to pay you in rupees and not in dollars? Is that really what you wanted from me? No, I didn't send you that email. And I thought the example you gave about, treat it like it was a human interaction, where you would say, is this the person they say they are? That the computers made it faster, but it also makes it easier for us to make a mistake, and that we treat it with the importance that it deserves. There's no easy button. It sounds like we got to work on this and engage with companies like you all to help us come up with better procedures. Also take away, which is don't click the unsubscribe, don't unsubscribe by email, set your spam filter properly, note it as junk, let it go to junk or block it. But don't touch it, because by clicking on it, you've just told them that you're alive and they're going to start going after it even more.
Mhm.
Any other high levels? As we're in the holidays, it seems like this is the time in which people are being fished.
Yep. The easy way to take yourself off the menu of the buffet bar of the easy to hack, make sure that you are using passwords. Make sure that your phone is using a password, that your computer or tablet's using a password. If you leave it and go to the bathroom, that it comes back not to a screensaver and you tap on it and just go back in, but it asks you to log back in again. Don't use the same password for everything. If you're going to use it for a work thing or a home thing and a personal thing, make sure you keep them separate. If you're going to log into lots of different places, it can be hard to remember. So you may want to have a password manager, but please don't use the default password that comes with your equipment. Don't use your birthday or pet's name. And remember that a computer is a box of plastic and metal. You are far more than that. Your business is far more than that. And you are part of a community here in Chapel Hill and at the Chamber.
So reach out to peers, find out, I would say reach out to peers and find out their experience, reach out to professionals, but remind your staff of these good hygiene practices. If they don't enjoy two-factor authentication, too bad. It is the safest way to go about it. It creates some friction for them, yes, but it also creates friction for whoever it is that's trying to get into your stuff. Y'all, it isn't just the big companies that are getting attacked. They are looking all the time for easy. They're looking for easy. And it's worth it for them to get $5,000 from you or $1,000 from you. And so be very wary, pay close attention, and use great professionals like Kim and Mauricio to help you defend yourself. We really appreciate y'all's time today. We love the work that you guys are doing and we admire it. We're glad you come to our office here at the Chamber and we get to see you. So these are local folks that can help you solve your big and small business problems. Kim, Mauricio, thank you guys very much. Again, the name of the company is Privacy Test Driver. And they've got some good resources. And send them your phishing, send them your, and they can tell you whether or not that's.
We love phishing.
They love phishing. Sounds like they absolutely love phishing. All right. Thank you all very much. Everybody have a great day.